Welcome to the press conference for The Sea of Trees with Matthew McConaughey, Naomi Watts and Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, if you don't mind bunching up just for a minute.
I pulled the chair out for you. Oh, bunching up. Yeah.
Bien, pendant que les photographes s'activent encore quelques instants, je vous rappelle que si vous voulez poser une question, soyez assez gentil de lever la main afin qu'on puisse vous voir, afin surtout que les hôtesses équipées de micros, puissent arriver jusqu'à vous, vous donner le micro. Lorsque vous avez le micro, soyez assez gentil de vous lever, de vous présenter, vous posez votre question, puis vous vous rasseyez et vous rendez le micro. While photographers are at it for a few extra seconds, guys, sit down. You may. Soyez assez gentil de lever la main. Please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time, so A, we can see you. B, so that the young ladies equipped with microphone can get to you, give you the microphone. When you have the microphone in your hand, please stand up, introduce yourselves, and ask your question. Then sit down and give the mic back. Thank you very much.
Aha. Get that out of the way.
Well, Naomi, if you want, do you want bubbly?
No, I prefer flat.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous, and welcome to the press conference for The Sea of Trees. With us today, ladies first. Quite different, but actually not that different from the young lady we discovered in 2003 in Mulholland Drive, Miss Naomi Watts. Oscar winner for Dallas Buyers Club, was in Cannes recently with Paperboy, Lee Daniels' Paperboy, and the following year with Jeff Nichols' Mud, Mr. Matthew McConaughey. He did come to Cannes with To Die For a million years ago, but he made history by getting the Palme d'Or for a film called Elephant and also the Best Director Award. He came back in 2005 with The Last Days, and he came back in 2007. Every 2 years, every other year you come back. Welcome back. With Paranoid Park, and got the award for the 60th anniversary, Mr. Gus Van Sant. Not with us today is Ken Watanabe, who plays Takumi in the film, and possibly, and this is why I'm bringing it up right away, the forest. The forest itself, which is called Aokigahara, which, if one believes the production notes, was actually the starting point of the entire project. And before he decided how to put characters in it, the scriptwriter who had written Buried before wanted to make it a character all onto itself. I don't know at which point you came on board, Gus, but was that perceptible in the script? Was that something you added, something you toned down a tad, something you went along with?
I hadn't heard that particular idea, but you know, when you have something as strong as this environment of the woods, yes, it becomes a character, and I think we talked about that a lot. The character of the woods. But yeah.
At which point did you come on board with the project?
I came on board when there was a finished screenplay. And actually, Ken Watanabe had agreed to do it as well.
Oh, great. I take it you didn't go, Naomi, to the forest, but you did.
To the actual forest?
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay.
I went at one point.
Gus did.
It was the same trip. We went over to shoot Matthew in downtown Tokyo, but you had to go, and we went further into the woods. that trip. Really is a sightseeing adventure.
Okay.
And we did take a few shots that ended up in the film in the very beginning that were from the original forest, the real forest.
The forest in the film is described as the ideal place to die. Based on the script, as you may have received it, it could have gone toward a horror movie or toward a more psychological movie. Was that determination made by you from the word go?
I liked the sort of scary aspects of this story, and yeah, there was a balance that I think we constantly were talking about of, what degree do you play it with the mood and the soundtrack, and it was something that definitely the writer and producers were, I think, concerned about. They weren't thinking of it as a horror film, but it's not really a horror film.
Sir, question here.
Hi, Jason Gorber from Cineplex and Twitch Film. Expanding on the notion of balance, perhaps the hardest thing about this film is striking that balance. If you could talk about, Matthew, the social drama versus the more spiritual drama in the forest in terms of performance and in terms of direction, making sure that all the pieces fit together when you assemble the entire whole.
The social drama versus the spiritual. Look, on the social side, I think that's what you're talking about, would be probably the relationship that Joan, Naomi's character, and I had. And, that was a bit of how finding love, then losing love can, sometimes that's what you need to get conscious in your life. Through the forest, I saw the forest as this supernatural trip through purgatory. This trip of annihilation to get to salvation. How you have to, face death to actually find life. The heartbreaking and miraculous thing socially is how, a tragedy, which I'm not going to say exactly what it is, in our character's life is actually what reignites our love. And sometimes it's true, it takes those things in our own life. And so that seemed very human to me in our relationship. And then, the stuff in the forest was this, is everything as it seems. Wait a minute, what did you just say? Did I catch that right? Was that a malaprop? And that's through Ken Watanabe, who's Takumi. Again, there's story points I won't give away, but that was a journey that was always felt a bit levitated, because my character Arthur is not quite sure what he's going through. He's got lessons to learn. There's many ways you could explain it, but he does get annihilated to then come out the other side and actually be alive again.
Question here.
Hello, Nita Wiggins with Riviera Productions. Hello. A question for Matthew. Would you please talk about how coming to this festival affects you? You see the excitement, the buzz. What does that mean for you?
How does it affect me? I'm happy to be here. I was happy to be invited to be here. I was happy that the film got in, and it was a great experience making the film. I like the film. I like the experience of making it, and that it now comes back, and we are now starting to introduce it to the world, declare it, and that it got in the festival. That was a happy day to hear that, and then say, hey, can you come over? And I'm working presently in the United States, but wanted to do everything I could to make the time to come over, because it's exciting for me. It's exciting to come support work that I got to do with these people, and also Ken Watanabe and many others that were behind the picture. So this is fun. I look at this as sort of dessert. No matter what, we've declared now. Here it is. Thanks for having us. Hope you enjoy it. We did.
I think we can address the same question to Naomi.
How does it feel to be here?
Well, you were a baby when you came over the first time. We've changed, you've changed.
A late bloomer, maybe. I don't think I was really a baby. But yes, new to this, and that was a memorable experience, and been back a few times. It's always a great honor, as Matthew said, to be part of you know, such a prestigious film industry where great films are celebrated from the world round, and it's an auteurs film festival, and yeah, I just feel really grateful to be here.
Thank you. Question over there.
It's working. My name is Fabian Weinthal for Latin America. I have a question for both. The movie starts with a sign on the tree asking if your life is happy. So I wonder what makes you happy in real life, and if you know your partner's favorite color and favorite book.
Go for it.
What makes me happy? Having something to look forward to. Do I know my partner's eye color? Yes. Do I know her favorite book? Not well enough to tell you right now.
Yeah, Liev's favorite book is Anna Karenina. And his eye color, of course, I know. That was it, the question?
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy, or us as a couple? Oh, yeah, having something to look forward to, and the family, the kids, they watching them discover life and figure things out. There's nothing more wonderful. Yeah.
Same applies. Same question addressed to you, Gus. Why should we be left out?
Let's see. My.
I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
I don't know the answer to the first two questions. What makes me happy? It usually is just working on a project is the thing that makes me happy. I notice that, like, if I'm at work on a project, I'm extremely happy. I'm usually working all the time, and I'm just busy, and I spend the days working, and that's the happiest I get, I think. Not working at all is too much room for trouble.
Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Inger Merete Holstad. I'm from Norwegian newspaper Dagbladet. I have a question for Mr. McConaughey. You can watch this movie as, among many things, as a discussion between a sort of rationalist perspective and a more spiritual perspective, the scientist and the more religious approach. Which of these perspectives is the closer to you? Which of these do you most relate to? And also, if I may add, what do you think of the film's depiction of viciousness within a marriage, within a love story? Why this viciousness comes through? Thank you.
Let me answer the second part first, and please chime in if you want to. Viciousness, I don't know, that's a particular word. Is the relationship working? Not really. Do I know a lot of people and couples that have gone through this? Yes. And then all relationships aren't going to be perfect. But, you know, as I said it earlier, sometimes it takes a tragedy to bring two people back together. And I never really looked at it as a, oh, let's rekindle the old love. It's actually looked at as more of a, this is a brand new love that they have for each other. Now that's, like I said, miraculous and heartbreaking reason or circumstance or incentive to have to get, to come alive again and be turned on and love the other one for the reasons that you loved them before and more. But that's who we are. I mean, humans do that all the time. It takes that. For me, my study was on the heart. I think one of the challenges for me that took a while studying was this Arthur guy being such a passive-aggressive, and how the passive-aggressive is actually a monster. It's so, and not someone that just recedes. I mean, that's what seemed to drive Jones' character mad. You just wanted Arthur to engage, wanted him to take a stand. You know, and I always saw Arthur as the very lateral character and her as the very vertical character. And where those two intersected is exactly why we fell in love, and where those two intersected is exactly where we've fallen apart. What was your first question?
About the spiritual and rational
Oh, well, I'm a fan of both. I mean, I love logic. I love logic. I love science. And so I believe that, you know, in this life, as a spiritual man, I believe that we damn well are expected to have our hands on the wheel. We are the architects of our life, and therefore lies the science of it. At the same time, I know I didn't write the script. You know, I know I didn't write the script to our life. I know that there are things going on all the time that are out of my control. I get coincidences all the time, and I see things that are not man-made and have no logic whatsoever, nothing linear about it, that are just beautiful. And for me, I say, well, that's not my hand. That's someone else's or another being's. For me, that's God. And so, now Arthur, I was a character dancing in the middle of these things. He was stuck in the middle between existence and the metaphysics, you know?
Naomi, you want to chime in?
In terms of the relationship, that's what drew me to. I mean, firstly, Gus. I heard about this this piece of material, and I've always wanted to work with Gus. A great admirer of his work, always addressing important themes and character-driven material as well, and then also obviously Matthew, and so I managed to get my hands on the script, and at the center of it was this beautiful love story that was painful and tragic, but it seemed to represent something that felt really human and really universal to me, in that they never synchronized the love. It was there, it was pure, but they lost their way and got held up with blaming and shaming, and in this power struggle, and out of that was born all these other byproducts, alcohol, drama, him doing what he loves to do and her not doing what she loves to do, yet paying the bills, like all these sort of practical things that can take place in many different relationships. And it took a massive wake-up call for them to be able to reevaluate and say, let's forget everything, let's move through, let's forgive. And just as that realization comes to them, it's too late. And that felt really heartbreaking to me. And then the journey into the forest becomes, this is the place that could kill you or heal you. And then it sort of reflects to me that it's not the place or the thing that can define you. All the answers are there within you. And if you could just let go of all this other stuff. And I felt like these two people wanted to get there, and they needed a wake-up call. And again, in all forms of art, to me, I think the exploration of death is a good way to tell a story, because it's a big question for all of us, and through exploring death and getting to know it, we find better ways to understand life and the present moment and how valuable that is.
Sir?
This is Iqbal from Bangladesh, Daily Pratham Alo. So my question is to Mr. Matthew McConaughey. So do you know that there's a lot of fan followers of yours in Bangladesh? Your Interstellar was a huge hit in Bangladesh.
Great. Thank you.
So it's from science fiction to it was Interstellar, then it's Sea of Trees. So science fiction to kind of spirituality. Mm-hmm. So it's a big change. What do you think about this change?
Well, Interstellar was an exploration out there. This was an exploration in here. So this was, I'm going to say, for the character, any less. In Interstellar, there was a goal to get there and get back home. This was more moment to moment. This is a guy who doesn't have the answers. There were many times during the making of this, I was like, right to myself, I don't know what I'm doing. And that frustrated me for a long time until I was like, oh, that's perfect for Arthur. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know. He's trying to find himself. He's trying to find who he is. He's trying to find out what to do, trying to find some clarity. So that's one of the main differences.
Sir?
Yishun Kang from Sina.com, China. So I got a question for Mr. Gus Van Sant. Personally, I'm a huge fan of many of your previous films. Your Private Idaho, Elephant, Good Will Hunting, Milk, things like that. I think they are masterpieces. However, I just want to know, what do you think your own ideas on this film particularly? What do you think of this film yourself? And what do you think of the screenplay? Also, especially screenplay. Thanks.
You specialize in screenplays, or? Yep, specialize.
Especially.
Oh, especially the screenplay. Oh, yeah. Well, the screenplay was the beginning for me of the whole world. I mean, I was interested in the jigsaw puzzle of the story, and how it was sort of partly about this control aspect of you're kind of out of control as a viewer because you're watching from the end, like middle of the story, and you're thrown out of control, and it's slowly sort of bringing you into a sort of understanding of what's going on with our lead character because of his past and the bits of information coming to you like as we're progressing, and Arthur being a guy who is, it's often stated in the story, and also Joan like accusing him of being like overly like boxed up and controlling, and he doesn't let his feelings out. And as he's learning that, we're also we're coming from no control into control ourselves, or at least understanding of the story, whereas Arthur's like super controlling and becoming less so as he's progressing, and it's all as a result of Joan. I think that was part of the reason that I liked the story. How it relates, how I feel about the movie, and how it relates to the other films. It's its own animal. They're all sort of their own separate existences, and this is yet another thing.
Question over there, then over here.
Hello, my name is Fernando for Fila 7, Spain. My question is for Mr. Van Sant. I think in all your movies are brilliant, are luminous, but there is a thing about death in movies like Elephant, the movie that you won the Golden Palm, or the last shot of My Private Idaho, your last one, Restless, and in this one, which kind of thing you have about the death in cinema?
I think in each of the films there's sort of different aspects of death, including this one. The death of Joan is used as a kind of centerpiece of all these other fractals of emotions that involve their relationship and the lives of the characters. So the death is more of it's a huge tragedy that has all the characters spinning, but it's not really about death or even afterlife. Whereas I think maybe some of the other ones were more about different ideas of human inflicted death. Like more death by one's own hand as a suicide, death by an outside force, or death by a known force. They were like more specifically about different phases of death. But as Naomi was saying, like it's interesting. Like death is an interesting centerpiece for just many works of art, and maybe that's, I'm not sure why. I think it just sort of happened that way. With two of the stories, with Last Days and Elephant, they were really reactions to journalism more than they were to like literal death. Like the journalists were, taking a tragedy, a death, and able to put it on Time magazine and Rolling Stone and investigate it. But the dramatists, me, weren't really allowed to do anything about it. Like you couldn't make a drama about Columbine without being accused of, say, profiting or, making an entertainment from a tragedy, you weren't allowed to investigate. You weren't allowed to look at it in the same way that a journalist could. And I thought that there was by 1999, it was far enough along in cinema history that journalism or documentarianism had become as much entertainment as, a drama could be an investigation. So I was trying to do that particular piece as a result of like the, covers of magazines, and also the psychological investigation into the lives of the characters. I thought there was a place for drama to do that as well.
Go ahead. Yes.
I'm from Central Asia, and my question is to Gus Van Sant. For people in Asia, such a metaphor is kind of in our blood, because our grandmothers tell us stories with similar endings and very strong and sometimes shocking, tragic and stuff like that. But for Western pragmatic audience, I think it's a little bit strange that you took this genre as your choice. So my question is, why did you decide to make a fairy tale, the myth? I like it very much. I'm not sure that everyone would be taking this so passionately like me. My question to you, why did you choose this genre?
Well, I'd be hard pressed to really choose the genre that it would be. I mean, there's fairy tale aspects to it, but I don't know if it's, a fairy tale. Is it? Yes, I mean, they going into the woods, a parable, yeah, which I'm very much attracted to. Maybe haven't really been in the business of making parables, but I just liked it.
Question here.
Hello, my name is Pierpaolo Festa from Italy, Film.it. Question for Matthew McConaughey. I was thinking about you crying in the movies. You have a big scene in Dallas Buyers Club. You have another scene in Interstellar. And here you have another scene, but you deliver a speech meanwhile. Is it something that you are getting used to, or is it always difficult? And by the way, have you seen your video on the internet with Interstellar and Star Wars? What was your reaction? Thank you.
Whoa, that's a jump.
I knew you were going to ask those two questions. The second question, no. I've heard about it, though, and someone said it was funny. But no, I haven't seen it. First question. What was your first question about me crying?
If it's difficult or if you're skilled now.
Do you find it easier to weep on screen now?
Yeah, I tell you what, the one trick I've learned is you just got to, those scenes especially, you got to relax. So that's one thing. There's I don't think I'm more skilled. I've learned that tension is your worst enemy at those times, because they're usually very vulnerable and receptive positions, and they're very personal. So, no, I think that those were scenes that have been in the last few dramas that I've been in, and for my mind, that's what the character was going through. It's what he was feeling, and how he felt it.
Question here.
Hello, it's Cynthia from Lebanon, I Like TV. It's a question for Mr. McConaughey. How do you get into this dramatic state of mind? I mean, a person who decides to take his life is like the worst thing that could happen. So how do you prepare for this role? And how long does it take you to get out of the state of mind after the movie is done? And same question to you, Ms. Watts.
Well, I think I said earlier, I mean, Arthur was a guy who, like I said, there were many times I would be writing and go, geez, I'm not quite sure what to do. I'm not sure who I am. And then it finally hit me, hey, welcome to Arthur. You're right, that's right. He doesn't have the answers. He's not on a certain quest with a goal, as I said earlier with, say, Interstellar, which was brought up. I mean, I never, Gus mentioned this a second ago, I never really looked at it as a morose trip towards the end. Because it's not what happens. And that's the short stick, you know? He tries it. But what's he find? Crossing that purgatory. What's he find while he annihilates himself? He finds life. Comes out the other side. It's more of a life-affirming story for my money. And so it's just a hard trip to get there. So I was, I don't know, I was really turned on about that, the length of that journey, the length and the extent of that annihilation, to come out more conscious on the other side, to come out understanding, and to, in a lot of ways, be much more whole with his wife, even though she's physically gone, than he was, and they were when she was there. Like I said earlier, I mean, heartbreaking but miraculous. You know, falling out of love is just as miraculous as falling into it. You know, and look what happens to this guy when they fell out of love. But they wouldn't have been able to have that second chapter of coming back together. You know, and then the third one of understanding how do they exist and what were they and what was their love, even though they're both physically not there. And that makes sense to me. I've got relationships with people that aren't here.
Naomi?
The question was about going into it and coming out of it. I think, you know, these days things move so quickly and there's less money in our industry and less time for preparation and things like that. But and I knew they were filming the forest part before Matthew reached out to me and said, let's connect. We had to get on that fast track of creating a backstory, a history, so that when...
Because Naomi was going to show up. We were already shooting.
Yeah.
She was going to show up, and the day she showed up, we were going to have to go to work. So her and I were not going to get any time to rehearse or...
talk about
the characters.
Dysfunctional marriage. And so he reached out to me via email, and the idea just came to me then, where I just said, and having known that Matthew works very much from an internal place, and or having heard that, and so I said, you know, do you mind if we write to each other? Sometimes writing can be, I don't know, much easier than on the phone, you know? If you can't get in a room with a person and see their eyes and, you know, take time over a conversation, writing can be a good way to connect. And so I said, do you mind if we write to each other in character? And I got an email back, you know, 10 minutes later saying, write at will, love, Arthur. And I felt that was it was a fantastic way for us to move into this and create that history. And, you know, sometimes the emails consisted of a few words, and sometimes they were, you know, 3 pages long. And Matthew's a fantastic writer. And, you know, and we would talk about how things had gone wrong in the voice of Arthur and Joan. And it was... So by the time we got to the set, we'd had a good month and a half of these letters, and sometimes he would write sort of poetic letters, and then they would be sort of argumentative. And you know, as actors, well, you're trained to be open. So if someone presents you with an idea, you go with it. You can't say, "What do you mean?" Like, you just keep exploring that path, that channel, and so it was really easy. And Gus created a great forum for that. I mean, obviously his work was something that I deeply connected to, and I trusted him. And it was like doing a play almost. The shots were long, and we could do the whole scene pretty much at once, not just pieces here, pieces there. And although we did coverage it sometimes, a lot of them. And then he even said, let's do this 5-page scene without words. So go through all of the movement of it. And sometimes, and actually one of those scenes is how what he used in the film, because that can be, the silent scenes can be louder than the wordy, the verbose scenes, and it was good. And in terms of coming out of it, it's much easier these days to finish and not take it on with you, because I have small kids, and it's good to shake it off.
We'll take a few more questions, sir.
Hi, Robert from the Netherlands. I really loved the film. However, a lot of the colleagues disagreed with me, and they made it quite clear after the screening last night. Could Mr. Van Sant and Mr. McConaughey comment on that harsh reception, please?
That, and I real simply would say, anyone has as much right to boo as they do to ovate.
Next question. Go ahead.
No?
Gus?
Yeah, it was a really, I mean, I read one review this morning, and it was one of those kind of reviews, and it was like very definitive. I thought, okay, now we know where, like, I was imagining everyone was the same person as the one writing that review. And it was like, now we know where we stand. It was kind of nice, and then I got nervous later. But I remember there was always a story that some of you may have been around. There was some kind of fight after Elephant screened. There was like fisticuffs. They were fighting over, good or bad, I think. It was good or it was bad, like there was actually punching, which I thought was interesting. And that was at Cannes as well. I think that there's also like, I don't know, who knows, like day by day, whether the screening was today or yesterday, that it makes a difference. Like I'm not sure if it was the particular screening or whatever, but I don't know.
Okay, who has the mic back? Go ahead, over there.
Hello. Hi, Atika from BBC World from London. Matthew, to Naomi and Matthew, you talked about exploration of death, Naomi, but are you scared of death? Have you ever been afraid of death?
Me?
Yeah, the thought of death.
All the time. Yes. I think it is a scary thought. I'm not.
No.
I'm part of the Western culture. I haven't embraced it just yet.
No.
And I mean,
Yeah.
every day I
Take
get
those
scared
three and then that's it.
of something happening to my children, and also them losing a parent. It's terrifying, having grown up as a kid with a missing parent. So, yeah.
And my mic. Also, would you ever work in a Bollywood film, either of you? Would you imagine yourself doing song and dance? I mean, you guys pick serious roles, but would you ever do song and dancing?
I don't mind the dancing. I'm not sure about the singing.
I like to sing.
Yeah. What about dancing?
Sure.
Okay.
What's that Dylan called? Yeah, I've always considered myself a song and dance kind of guy.
Question.
Hello, I am Cristiana Lievi from Italy, and I have a question for Mr. McConaughey. I found you particularly good in the scenes in which you had to cut off yourself from the process of your wife. So I was wondering if this is your ability in life to really concentrate on yourself and to, that.
To cut off myself from the relationship with my wife.
When she's going crazy, let's say, or she's really asking for your attention, whatever it is.
Right.
I found a certain concentration on yourself, really being on yourself. So this is the question.
Yeah, I think that's that passive-aggressive side of Arthur, which I did spend a lot of time. Just kind of found it very interesting what kind of beast that is, and how they're, she's Joan's the alpha of the couple. Like I said, she's the vertical driver. I'm sort of the what do you call the little fish that hangs on the side of the whale that just kind of pilot. I'm the pilot fish, and the stuff for self. Where I was finding where Arthur, I think, was angry for right or for wrong at her, at the world, at himself, that himself. He used to be a scientist. And now what's he doing? He's teaching science at the community college. Well, that's not the same thing as doing it. It may be the next best thing, but he's teaching it. I mean, he took a back seat to what his dream was to do and what he loved to do, what turned him on. And so he's definitely sort of, what's the word? I mean, he's riding shotgun in his own life. You know what that means? Shotgun being the seat that's not the driver's seat. And he's got spite. Where's that come out? He's got it for himself first. He's got it for his wife. Because damn it, she's the one that wanted me to leave that job. I know it's because I had the affair, but it wasn't even, you know, I mean, it goes on and on and on, the reasons. And at life in general. So, you know, that was just part of we talked about Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf relationship. You know, where they cross and cut and where they intersect and where it's not pretty and it's not beautiful and it's not healthy. And how does he feed into her drinking more, you know? Probably it was so much fun and it was just, Arthur's probably drinking with you and they're having a great time. And then it just, at one point in their life, you know? And also making the choice to say that Arthur and Joan did have a beautiful relationship at one time. And when that's in the rearview mirror and you look at your present relationship and it's not where it was, whether you call that a honeymoon phase or whether it was just really good but it was just in the past, it's another thing you can get spiteful for, you know, and take it out on the other person, take it out on yourself.
Question over there.
Mr. Van Sant said, thank you very much for Sea of Trees. Thank you very much for Elephant. I'm Jason Dikuna from the Times of India, Bombay, and Rediff.com. My question says this to you. Did you intend at the end, and this has been partly answered, as I say, did you intend at the end, did you pick up a cross-cultural point and intend us in the end to believe that his satisfaction and the equanimity that suddenly seizes him to come from the fact that he is in fact in contact again with his wife, who has leapfrogged the barrier of death?
Spoiler alert.
Did you intend him to be in contact with his wife again?
That may, no offense, but that may, yes, you can answer, but that may be the one question that is not going to be answered until everybody's seen the movie. Up to you, Gus.
Well,
I mean, it spells spoiler alert.
I actually began, and we sort of, I think representationally, yes. Like, actually, physically or psychically, probably not. That there was more like, he was at peace with his relationship with his wife.
This one and this one.
And that it could be at peace as opposed to not at peace. And that there were representations of that in the film with the flower. And I don't know about jumping like cultural ideas, though. You'd have to ask Chris, the writer, whether he had in his writing like a cultural jump. What do you guys think?
I'm not sure.
Like reincarnation, you mean? I think there's an aspect to like that somewhere within there. Yes, of course.
Hi. Maya Morgenstern, French Radio London. This question is for you, Mr. Van Sant. I would like you to speak about the presence of the Japanese culture in this film. There's a lot of spirits, a lot of the deceased. This is something that the Japanese culture is very used to doing and addressing. It's part of who they are. And in Europe, not really. And do you think that could affect the way your movie is perceived in Europe, and particularly here during Cannes? How did you work with this dual culture? Thank you.
Oh, because I was thinking of reincarnation, I completely spaced what you were asking. Yes, please, sorry.
Okay, can you talk about how you tackle the Japanese culture? Because you talk about the spirits a lot in the films. That's something that the Japanese are used to, but not a European culture. It could be seen, maybe all the signs, as corny or cheesy or very American-centric. This is Cannes, this is Europe. Do you think the film will be perceived differently in Europe than in Japan, per se?
Yeah, definitely be perceived differently. It's I think way more well known within their culture or within their country. You know that this particular place exists. What it represents, what it means to them in their own country, it means something probably different than we would think. As not necessarily like in the same way we would think of you go to this place to die. The signs themselves are like interesting in the sense that in Western culture we might not think as a deterrent to put up signs about your life can be a happy life. You know, certain ways of communicating, like don't do it, is maybe unique to like Japan and its way of dealing with it, with putting signs like don't feed the bears. It's more like don't, you know, think about how the good times in your life, signs for you, meant for you, and your, you know, how much at peace you are with yourself, being written on a tree is, you know, kind of, it's novel and it's not something maybe we would see. However, I mean, it depends, like places where something might happen, like no dumping, that's because people have been dumping in that area. So if there were a place, say, outside of New York City, you know, where people went to kill themselves, we probably would put up signs that were similar. It's just that this is like the only place that, I guess, the Golden Gate Bridge, right. I wonder what the signs say there. They might not be as poetic, you know, but it's the poetry maybe that makes it seem like this other
$5,000 fine if you climb bridge. We talk about, you know, I mean, look at Japanese history. There, if you go back, suicide was a very honorable way to lead this life. Now, talk about, remember what Ken talked about what his reason for and why a lot of people in Japan go to Aokigahara? When you talk about a demotion, and then shamed, and instead of being chastised, we heard that some people just get demoted and no one will talk to them, and no one will address me. They won't recognize that I'm here, and that creates a certain depression, and some people go off from there and head into this force. We had heard that story on several accounts of reasons why some went. We heard them obviously from certain people that went and ended up coming out alive, but those are kind of particular to Japanese culture.
Question here.
Giovanna Grassi, Corriere della Sera. For all of you, this movie in some way changed your relation with the nature. So you, Matthew, always loved to live in plein air. Also, Naomi, you went to Oregon in the middle of the nature. So in which way this movie probably gave to all of you a sort of pantheism for the nature?
For me, it was a real good reminder that don't wait to the 11th hour. Don't wait for the tragedy before you forgive someone else or yourself. And that it is a finite time that we're here. You know?
Yeah, I think the same thing. Just, you know, it's not really a suicide movie, but it's there, but somehow it ends up being life-affirming, but it takes such a horrific thing to take place in order to reevaluate your life. And, you know, it was too late for them to heal themselves, and could have been so much better had they have got rid of all the crap and listened to one another and seen each other. So yeah, I think that's all.
Gus?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
This movie gave to you a more deep sense and love for the nature that is around us.
The nature?
Nature.
Oh, the nature.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I think that was one of the reasons that I wanted to do it. Not so much that the movie gave me that, but that I wanted to like go into nature because of that.
And on that high note, I'm afraid we'll have to bring this to a conclusion. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you deserved it.